it couldn't work. Trading off, not taking turns. I don't regret a thing, and I've got this friend, you see, makes me feel that I want it more than I can steal. I'll arrest myself, wear a shield. I go out of my way to prove I still smell her on you. Smell her on you. Smell her on you. Don't tell me what I wanna hear. Afraid I've never known fear. Experience ain't a thing you need. I'll keep fighting jealousy until it's fucking gone. And I've got this friend, you see, it makes me feel that I want it more than I can steal. I'll arrest myself, wear a shield. I'll go out of my way to prove I still smell her on you. Smell her on you. Smell her on you. Truth covered in insecurity. I can't let you smother me. I'd like to, but it couldn't work. Trading off, now taking turns. I don't regret a thing, and I got this friend, you see, makes me feel that I want it more than I could steal. I'll arrest myself, wear a shield. I'll go out of my way to make you a deal. We'll take our backs, learn from whoever won we want. Bound to rule, then we'll share what's lost. What we grew, they'll go out that way to prove they still smell her on you. 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 Smell her on you.
If you don't use me for any reason and you want another recommendation for somebody who does what I do, I could probably give you several really good restorers who can do what I do and then some.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you know people, especially if they have like a really good personality, and if they happen to be female or people of color, just because we're trying to have as much diversity as possible. Listen, the whole restoration world is a pretty white male world. And so I'm happy to talk. I talked to tons of white guys, but because it's a white male world and this is a television series, it's important that we represent people. I mean, some of the white guys, I don't want to say like I'm not saying we're not interested, I'm not interested in talking to white guys. Like, I've spoken to some amazingly talented and very compelling white guys. It's fine. Like, it's just totally, we're going to have white guys on the show too. We just need to find like the most compelling person personalities with the strongest skill sets who will work well as a collaborative group. And their personalities also have to work well. There's got to be like chemistry. There's just a lot of different components that go into it. So anyone that you have that you think is skilled in restoration, I'll take. Like, forget about black, white, whatever. It doesn't matter. Male, female. It's harder to find women and people of color, but we have plenty. So women are generally more on what's called the decorative arts side of things.
Right.
So women can basically do more of the outside, the exteriors of objects, where men are more doing the machinery or the insides. But for the network, if they could find like a black woman who happens to be a machinery person, that would be like a total coup, because it's
rare.
It's showing something that you don't normally see, and they're just always mindful of representation. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think this is happening. What's up, dudes and dudettes? I'm hoping you can hear me okay. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me all right. So what you just heard there was part of an audition that I did for this show that's on the History Channel called Secret Restoration. I was contacted back in December, I think it was, December of last year. And you guys know, all the stuff that's been going on with me for like the last year and a half, when I was accused of threatening our school superintendent. So it kind of honestly surprised me that they didn't vet, pre-vet or something, like at least Google my name before they did that and wanted me to contact them and audition for this. So I just kind of thought it would be a waste of time, but I wanted to do it anyway. My wife said, you should do it anyway. Just see where it goes. You never know. So I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I might as well. So, as you heard, though, in that clip, I was really, at one point in the interview, kind of shocked, because what I was doing there was I was actually offering them, without coming out and saying, hey, look, I've got pending charges against me in my home county. So, you guys may not want to hire somebody with pending charges. You don't know how it's going to go, So without saying that explicitly, I kind of said, hey, look, if for whatever reason, I'm not going to work out for you guys, let me know, because I've got a bunch of people I could suggest for you, who might be good for this show. And again, the show is like a restoration show. It's on the History Channel right now. It just premiered some of you might have even seen it. It just premiered like night before last or something with the first episode. I didn't watch it. I don't have cable. I don't watch History Channel. But anyway, so that was an opportunity. I thought, it's one of those things that was completely squandered by the fact that I had those pending charges. It was just like, well, if I hadn't had the pending charges, who knows how it would have gone? Because I'm certain that they probably at some point did their due diligence and vetted me properly. And just all they had to do was Google my name and it would have come up, this guy was, he was accused of doing this. And they would have been like, I don't think so, which I can understand that. I'm not, if I was going to run a show, I might be. Well, you never know. It depends on how much attention I wanted for the show. It might actually be some fun publicity. It's like, one of the people on the show has been accused of doing this, which might have been funny, but I pretty much knew it was a no-go. But as you heard in that clip, the guy was like, he basically just came out and said the quiet part out loud, And I've been sitting on this footage for like a year now, because I didn't really want to publish it. And plus, I didn't even know if the show would be picked up and actually run, by anybody. The production company that created the show is called Spoke, and I'll show you a little bit about Spoke. They're let's see if I can show you this. Let's get off of this screen for a second. Okay, so Spoke. This company is an Emmy Award nominated production studio that produces premium content. The guy who is behind this, so they do Secret Chef, Designing Miami, all these. I call it junk TV. It's just like TV for idiots, you know. Not to say I don't like watching this stuff sometimes, you know. It's just like it's just mindless, you know. But the main guy behind this guy, and also Jimmy Kimmel owns this company. So those are the main two guys really behind it. And Jimmy Kimmel has a couple other production houses. One of them is called Wheelhouse, this company right here that's listed, and also Kimmelot. And you can see all these people are kind of like back and forth in between these companies. So it's really kind of a Jimmy Kimmel backed thing, this company. So that was doubly like kind of, am I sure it wasn't woke? Spoke be woke. You know, draw your own conclusions about Jimmy Kimmel. I when I heard it was Jimmy Kimmel related, I was like, that's kind of like strike two for me, isn't it? Strike two for me. There's what, 6 white faces? Is that what you said right there? Oh, let's see if they've got anybody at the top here that's not white. That's very interesting. Good point. They have no one. No one. Wait a minute. Wait a second. So their entire team of directors is white. And look at this. It's almost all white males as well. Look at this. They've got one female. Did they have 2 females? 2 females. 3 females. Excuse me. My bad. But it's not 50% though, is it? Shame on you. Shame on you, Spoke. What would I have restored? Well, we'll get to that in a second. I'm actually going to play the entire interview, which I thought might be interesting. I'm going to play and react to the entire interview here in just a second. Or audition, whatever you want to call it. But here's some of the other stuff that they do. I don't know, maybe you've seen some of these shows. I don't recognize really any of these. The main guy, well, there's Tim the Tool Man there. Assembly Required. Never seen that show, but he's kind of too conservative. He's probably too borderline conservative, really even. They probably made an exception in his case. You know, that's my guess. Just knowing Jimmy Kimmel, you know what I'm saying? Didn't he say the other day that he had lost like half of his audience because he had acknowledged he had been too woke for too long or something like that, or whatever, that he'd lost half of his audience? I think that was the something I heard. But yeah, they're also involved in Pawn Stars and some other stuff. Yeah, the Tim Allen Show. But yeah, I wanted to show you the full interview that I did with them, and just kind of react to it, and just let you in on kind of like what the inside of one of these sort of looks like. We did it obviously via Zoom, so it's not like I'm had to travel anywhere to do it. But like I said, just really, really crazy that the dude actually said the quiet part out loud in an interview. What bothered me about it, like I said, I wasn't going to share this. I kind of sat on this footage and I was just gonna, I don't know what I was gonna do with it, just bury it, I guess, because it was kind of, it was kind of one of those things. It's like, first of all, I didn't get the part in the show, so it was, why expose my own failures, right? But like I said, probably after 2 seconds of vetting me, they figured out, like, okay, well, this dude, he's got a pending charge he's going to have to deal with, so we don't want to have to worry about that. So, which I totally, completely understand. But the other thing that he said, honestly, it kind of bothered me. The more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. It didn't bother me that much at first because I kind of understand, in a way, like you want to maximize your audience maybe by getting a little bit of everybody, but at the same time, it's kind of an insult, really, and it's kind of one of those things that I would understand if you were casting for a play. If you're casting for a play or for a movie where the character had to be black,
or the character had to be a woman, obviously. Like if you're doing a romantic comedy, the character sometimes, it has to be a man, it has to be a woman, period. There's no way around that. For some, well, maybe not anymore. Who knows? Who the fuck knows anymore? But, for most sensible people, a woman needs to be a woman, and a man needs to be a man in a movie or a play or something or something fiction, But in this case, it was just, it was one of those things, man. It just kind of took me aback because this is not fiction. This is just a show where it should be all about your skills and your merits, right? So I don't know. Like I said, part of me kind of understood what they were saying, but the other side of me was kind of offended by it, and I was just like, am I being a Karen about this, or is this like a pretty bad thing to do to somebody to say, if you're going to suggest somebody to us, make sure you try to send us white people or women, because we're going to be looking for more white people or women, I don't know. You decide. Tell me what you think, honestly, in the comments, because I want to know whether or not am I just one of these people who, am I too easily offended or something? Or is this bad? Because it seems to me like it's probably even violating some federal law there, because this is a show that has nothing to do with like a script. Like I said, this is not scripted. So it's not like we have to get somebody who's black for this part, or we have to get somebody who's a woman for this part, which I would completely understand, but this is not like that. So anyway, we're going to look at it. Let's check it out.
So thanks for doing this. I know that you spoke to Essence, but before I go into my spiel about the purpose of this recorded call, do you have any questions overall about?
Tell me also if you can hear this okay. Somebody give me a thumbs up in the comments to make sure we can hear this okay.
The show, or what you're being considered would be considered for doing, possibly?
Well, Essence explained most of it. The one thing that she didn't know was, she said that she thought that there would be compensation above and beyond like a per diem kind of a thing. And I explained to her that, if I'm going to leave my regular repair business behind for like 7 weeks, there would have to be some sort of compensation. That could be negotiable, I suppose. But I just wanted to make sure that there is something, that would cover me for the weeks I'll be off, basically for my job here.
Yeah. So I don't know the numbers exactly or how they do it, but there would be some kind of contract. Either there would be like an episode fee or a weekly fee that you would get.
Okay.
I know that they would, since you're out of state, so I'm sure they would fix you up with accommodation, and I don't really know, but I'm guessing they would cover your travel expenses and all of that. They would, if they decide that they would like to use you for the show, it's probably a little bit of a negotiation, but they're going to want to try to make you happy. So
sure. Well, I've just been rolling it over in my head and like the logistics of it, because if I were to do it, I would probably want to, if I were going to repeat up there in Connecticut what I do here, then I would want my test equipment and, things that I use day to day. And that would probably involve me having to drive up in a van or something and load my test equipment in. And there are so many things that go into like restorations of certain types of things that if I didn't have all the appropriate tools and stuff around, it just would be impossible. And to expect you guys to know what those tools all are, I just, logistically, I wouldn't expect you to know what to have on hand.
No, yeah, Jonathan. No, I'm sure that the show would have covered all that stuff. I just wanted to get it in, not in writing, but I wanted to get some kind of explicit affirmation that yes, they were going to compensate, because there wasn't anything mentioned about that. There wasn't, there was no compensation at all mentioned. And I wanted to just ensure that, okay, this is not one of those things where you guys are making a production like where the only thing that I get is like exposure or something, is it? So I was just making sure. But yeah, good question.
So it would just be one of those things. I know I would have to drive up So it, I just wanted to make sure that all that was covered because I'm going to have to tear down my everything here and put it in a van basically and drive it up. So
Yeah, I mean, I know that they're building out a pretty extensive shop for restoration of an array of different kinds of items.
okay,
And I'm sure they're going to want to ask you specifically, like, these are the things we have in the shop. Are there other things? If it comes to that, they will, I'm sure, get your input on what would be necessary to provide you with or have you bring or...
Yeah, Patrice. Patrice says them acting like this is okay in any way. It's just a farce. Contact a lawyer. I'm not outside of that. I mean, I would consider that if a lawyer wants to actually contact me. I'm not going to go looking for a lawyer or pursue this. But if a lawyer contacts me and says, "Hey, you've got a case. I want to take this," and I'll just I will only pay myself out of any winnings that we get. If you want to do something like that, then fine. If you want to like take down Jimmy Kimmel or something or give him a black eye in the process, I'm fine with that too because I'm not a big Jimmy Kimmel fan. Somebody mentioned he doesn't even talk to Adam Carolla anymore. I think that's true. Wasn't he on Howard Stern or something talking about that? Talking about how he didn't like Adam Carolla anymore or something because they were on the Man Show back in the day. And that was actually when he was funny. He wasn't afraid to be funny and edgy back then. And I like Adam Carolla a lot. I think he's hilarious. But yeah, Jimmy Kimmel is just, he went way downhill for me. That's one of the reasons I was on the fence about even doing this audition at all because I was thinking, oh man, this is like Jimmy Kimmel's production company. As soon as they figure out who I am, what I believe, anything about me, I'm going to be axed from this. There's no way. That was my thought. But yeah, if a lawyer wants to contact me, my email address is always in the descriptions to my videos, and we'll just leave it at that. If somebody wants to do something, otherwise I'm probably just gonna let this slide. But I wanted to show you guys because, like I said, I sat on this for so long, and I just went back and forth in my head about it, and I was like, And then I saw the other day where they were actually doing the premiere of the show. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm ever going to do it, it needs to be now so that people know that this was their hiring practice for this show. And I'm not saying that everybody they hired for, I haven't even seen the show yet, so I don't even know. But I'm not saying everybody they hired for the show was like a diversity hire or something, because I'm sure they weren't. They probably have good skills. But just to say that out loud in an interview with somebody, it's borderline.
It's come up every time I speak to a restorer. They're like, it took 20 years to build this shop. Like, I've created my own tools. Like, I've literally built things specifically for the purpose of the particular kinds of restoration. And they're just kind of like incredulous that we could build a shop that would serve all their needs. And
right.
Maybe I'm sure there are specific things, but my simple answer is I don't know how that would all work. I just know that they will make it work. They'll figure out a way to make sure that they're going to set everybody up for success.
Sure.
It's really important for the show that we're able to pull off these restorations, and that the people we have doing the restorations look like they have some gravitas. I mean, without getting too deeply into what I've learned, but within the world of restoration, there seems to be a hierarchy of people who call themselves restorers, going from like everything from like people who flip things and sell them on Facebook Marketplace to like conservation level museum work.
Sure.
And everybody has their own ideas about what's what, but
yeah.
for the purposes of our show, we are trying to put together a panel of people that would be able to work together so that like each restorer would be responsible for like 6 or maybe 7 items, but they could collaborate and get help if they needed, like if an electronics person needed someone to do the aesthetic part of a radio or something, had to be done. So everybody I spoke to also pretty much said, like, there is the singular thing that I do and I'm known for, but often on certain objects, I have to go to somebody else who can do one aspect
certain
of it
things. Absolutely.
not in my wheelhouse.
Well, I've seen the show Essence, it kind of explained that you guys were loosely basing it on, maybe not the same one-for-one, copy of the show, but you said like that show in the BBC made, Repair Shop. Yes, and I've seen all the episodes of that, and I love that show. That's right up my alley. So I know what you're talking about. Like they would bring in the wood guy, to do one's part of something, and and maybe the guy who did the clock work, would do another part or whatever. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that's the only, I don't see how else it can. I have actually not seen Repair Shop yet. I keep meaning to, but I'm so up to my eyeballs in this show that I don't have time. And the way it was put to me is like, it is a similar format, but it's not the same show. It's not like oftentimes they'll just, they'll basically buy a foreign format, like they'll do the American version of a British show or anywhere else.
Right.
But this is supposedly a different show. I'd have to watch the show, but the main conceit of this show is that people are bringing in objects of sentimental value to someone else, and you're fixing it for your friend, or you're having it fixed for your friend or your family member or whomever. So there would, at the end, ideally be this reunion between the person and the 1964 Camaro or the old Stratocaster guitar or whatever it is.
Right.
That's what they were thinking. So.
Well, the only problem I could see with that, and just for your own purposes, I mean, if somebody had something that was super important to them, and somebody kind of takes it without their knowledge, I wouldn't want to be the one holding the book on the legal ramifications of that. That's all, because you just don't know how someone would react. I guess.
So okay, that's a good point. I thought I brought up right there. That hey, okay. So basically, you've taken the show Repair Shop from the BBC. It's kind of a stolen concept. I didn't realize that it was that they were kind of stealing and remolding the concept. I thought that they had licensed it for the U.S. Is what I thought before I got in touch with this guy to do this interview. But no, it's not authorized by the BBC at all. It's just basically their kind of spinoff, and I guess they thought it would be different enough that they would just kind of get away with it, which I don't know that it's anything patentable anyway if they didn't use the same name. I don't know the legalities of any of that, but they're kind of basing it loosely on Repair Shop, though, with the spin that it's a secret repair. So somebody takes something out of the house, like the wife brings it in and it belongs to her husband, and it belonged to his dad's dad or something, and he's never gotten it fixed, and he's always talked about getting it fixed or whatever. And then, it gets repaired in secret, and then they bring him in for the big surprise reveal at the end, kind of thing. But my point here, I think, is valid. It's like, okay, but hang on a second. What if somebody brings in a guitar, somebody's dad's 60s Strat, and wants us to restore it? And what if he didn't want it restored? You know what I mean? What if it's one of those, when he comes in and he's like, what the fuck did you do? It's like, who holds the bag of liability for that? Because it's not going to be me. Anyway.
Yeah, no, it has become an issue. Oddly, it has become an issue after they developed and pitched the show.
He acknowledges it too.
History Channel greenlit the show for production, like while we were in production. While we started pre-production and we started getting these people, and they were like, oh, this could be a legal issue if there's around the ownership of the object, and so they're gonna figure it out. Like, we're gonna figure it out.
Let the lawyers deal with that part.
Well, the lawyers for me.
Oh no.
We'll figure it out.
I don't envy you then.
I have a feeling like once a lot of these objects, it's not like people are fondling them every day, and they're like in a place of pride in the house.
Sure.
The objects that we're finding are kind of forgotten, and it's like the people know that they're there, and they know they want to get that thing fixed.
The original Sanford and Son, it was called Steptoe and Son, right? Steptoe and Son. Some of you Brits can, yeah, there you go, Steptoe and Son. That's it. But yeah, I want to say this too while I'm thinking about it. You know, Manny, this guy that is conducting this interview or this audition, he, I don't place any blame with him. You know, I don't want any hard feelings with this guy, or please, don't anybody dox this guy or go shout him down, and please don't do that. At least not on my behalf, and not over this. You know, I don't ever want anything like that. And plus, I don't think any of this is really his fault anyway. I think he just accidentally let it slip, the quiet part out loud, and it just so happened that as a YouTuber, I film just about everything anyway. You know, when I'm doing anything like this, I just film it just because later on I might even take a snippet out of it for something later, you know, and just show a snippet of this and a snippet of that in some future video. So I don't know that he knew that he was being recorded, but he doesn't have to, because Kentucky is a single party consent state. So,
But it is definitely far from a priority, and I would almost say like 10 times out of 10, the amount of time, energy, and money involved in restoring it is prohibitive for one reason or another. It's just not worth it to them.
Right.
So they haven't done it, and it's not like they didn't do it for a week or a day or a month or a year. It's like it's been 10 years or something longer than that. It's just been, and it would mean a lot if it was magically restored.
Yeah, totally. I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench in your thinking there or anything like that.
The monkey wrench has already been thrown.
Okay.
But it's good to bring up. So, okay, so basically the purpose of this interview is so that we can show the network executives and production company executives all the different people that we're considering to be our experts.
Sure.
So what I tell everybody is, and it's really the more important, they'll also get like a paper pitch that shows your picture and your history and the kinds of objects that you do, but this is what they really kind of base their decisions on usually. And a lot of it is they want to see your personality. They really want to see that you're a compelling person to watch on camera.
Okay.
And they want to know that you have real gravitas in terms of your ability to restore the objects that you'd be restoring. And they also want to see what kind of flexibility and variance there is in the kinds of objects
I should have said, what's gravitas?
that you could restore based on your skill sets.
Sure.
So if you're in the electronics world, maybe you specialize in guitars, but you can do, clock radios, or you're also able to do this or that because it's basically all electronics.
Yeah, there's no NDA. I signed absolutely nothing before this. Nothing. There was a non-disclosure writ at the bottom of the email that I was sent initially, but the writ was in the same email as the initial reach out, which is that's not legally binding at all. So I don't know what they were thinking with that. It wouldn't surprise me if they changed their practices after this. If this video gets any kind of play at all, which I don't know, which it should, because of what this dude's actually said in this audition. It's pretty bad. It's to me, it's illegal. But anyway,
or not. Like some people are like, yeah, I really stick to this one thing, and I don't. But they want to get an idea of what your versatility is, and the broad array of objects that you could handle if they were to come through the doors.
Well, if I may speak to that for 1 second, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, Manny. But no, I can do things like the electronics and all that. I specialize probably on my main YouTube channel has mainly been focused around guitar amplifiers, and that's kind of a straightforward niche thing. And the reason for the focus on that is because I'm a musician. I've been playing for so long, and there's good money in it. There's actually enough guitar amplifiers to justify a business surrounding that. Whereas if I were just to specialize in like clock radios from the 1970s, there's no business in that. You know, I can do that, but that's something that if I come across something at Goodwill, you know, that's broken, like I could bring it home and fix it for myself. But there's no business model in that, and you know, that's why. But that doesn't mean I can't do other things like, and you know, the guitar woodworking aspect of it. You know, I could do much more than just guitars. I mean, a lot of those skills are transferable to other things too. So I get what you're saying as far as that goes.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to ask you that specifically, so you'll have a chance to say it when.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Again, sorry for cutting you off.
No, not at all. I'm just letting you know, like, that will come up. So yeah, what I say is they really want to get an idea of your personality. Be yourself, like times 10 for TV, large and in charge, and like the only possible wrong answer you can give to any of my questions is the answer you're thinking in your head, but you don't want to say out loud, because they want to know what your thought process is. We don't really have a script for this stuff. Like, you know in advance, like, oh, I'm going to get the whatever item on the shop today, but they want to be able to see that you'd have chemistry with the other panelists as well.
Oh, also, I think it would be interesting to get your feedback too. Tell me how I'm doing in this audition or interview. The audition part really hasn't even started yet, but when it does start, I'd like to hear some feedback on how badly or goodly I did. Because it's hard, you know, sometimes it's hard to look at yourself doing something like this and watch it back. And I have criticisms about myself all the time anyway, but it would be nice to have criticisms that are constructive from outside of myself. So let me know what you think about how I do.
As the people who are coming on the show. So just have fun, be yourself to the best of your ability. When I ask the longer questions, like how did you get into restoration, try to incorporate the question in your answer. So, oh, I got into restoration, yada, 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 yada.
Okay.
Rather than, because
you're wanting to edit it for a panel. I see.
Well, my voice is going to be cut out of this, so they won't hear me asking the question. So if you don't either repeat the question or use the question,
Prince Westerberg, it is brave, right?
They won't know what you're
Ask
saying.
your opinions.
They won't have reference for it. So if you say blue, they won't know that you're saying the color of the sky is blue.
Gotcha.
Yeah, see, I'm kind of torn. Like, should I be like Gordon Ramsay? Be like, well, fucking get down to it then, you fucking donkey, you know, and just start being a shithead. You know, what do they want here?
But all that said, if I hear a fragment for any reason, I'll just say, hey, can you just say that again and start by saying, it all began when I was 5 years old and the dog bit me and blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
So yeah, just have fun, and that's basically it. Do you have any questions about what we're doing with any of that stuff? The stuff that I talked
Besides
about.
what's gravitas?
Taping?
No, not at all.
Okay, so all I want to do is frame up your shot a little bit. So you're fine. I'm just wondering, they're not going to know what this microphone is.
Okay.
Does it have to be right there?
Yeah, John says, your language gets a little too colorful for public TV when something goes wrong or annoys you, buddy. Like, that's probably true. I don't think that they would want me to start cussing at somebody's family heirloom, would they? Like, throw one of my tools across the shop. Start cussing. But that could be what they want. I don't know. You know, it's like, do you want this to be like the British show, or do you want this to be fucking American show? You know, here in America, we do things differently, man. We throw shit and we cuss.
I can move it like this. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, hang on. Let me get it about right there. Is that okay right there? Still? Still good? I'm sorry. Am I still good now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay.
And are you going to be staying right where you are? Are you going to lean back? Or do you want
I think I'll probably stay kind of like this, if that's all right.
It's okay. I would just like to see a little bit more of you. So.
Okay, I can move closer. How about this?
No, a little more of you, like the other way. Now you zoomed in. Sort of,
I was
so
confused
you
at
want
that
backwards.
one. I was like, I'm not going to show you that side of me, buddy.
Hang on. Torso and all that.
Yeah, just because if you're moving your arms.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, this gets real uncomfortable in a
Whoops.
second.
Hopefully that
Get the
doesn't
children
happen
out of the
in a little
room for this part.
bit. Hang on.
No, I know what gravitas means, man. I was just
put
kidding.
this where it'll stay. Hang on.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
no worries.
Maybe something like this, and I can move that more. Like this. Is that okay?
The casting
Frame it a
couch.
little better.
Now I know how all of Weinstein's people felt, right? Yeah, how bad do you want this?
It's gonna extend it. Hang on.
That's the thought did cross my mind. I was like, what side of it do you want to see?
Like that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So, and you're going to look directly to the camera where you're looking now, right? No.
Sure.
Now. No. Look up. There. That's
Sure.
the camera.
Yeah,
You can try to look there when you're talking. That would be great.
will do.
And that's it. So I'm going to hit record. You're going to hear an animated voice say, "You are recording now." And then I'm going to go like, and then I'm going to be on mute, and I'm going to go like this, like you're on, and just start by introducing yourself. Just tell me your name, your location, and a little bit about what kind of restoration work you do.
Sure.
So name, location.
Oh, this is so
and,
cringy.
I'm
Watching
a
this back.
restoration person who specializes in.
I don't even remember what I say here.
electronics and da, 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 da.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Recording in progress.
Hello, my name is Brad Lindsay. I'm a restorer from Louisville, Kentucky, and I specialize in guitars, guitar amplifiers. I can do restorations like fixing cracks in acoustics to fixing basically anything that amplifies the guitar. That's my main focus, but I also do other things like clock radios and electronics.
That's good, but it's
Okay,
not
awesome.
very good.
So, can you tell me a little bit, like, how did you get into restoration, and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, when I was younger, probably in the '90s, my stepdad, he is an electronics engineer, and most of my family were in coal mines where I'm from in Western Kentucky, and you know, there weren't a lot of job opportunities, but it was one of the skills that I sort of picked up that I realized this is going to be valuable for my future, and thank goodness that he gave me that skill, because you know, now I'm able to do the things that I do, and that's probably the number one skill that I learned. So it all sort of started from that, and I was already interested in music. I'm a musician. I've been playing guitar for 30 years, so you know, it's a perfect marriage of the two things, the technical side of things with the artistic side of things, and I don't know, I just feel at home doing it. It makes me happy.
No, Patrice. Patrice says his side of the interview feels performative. He already told you they aren't really looking to hire someone of your immutable characteristics. So how did he expect you to interview after that? No, actually, I played the clip at the front of the video just to show you what's in store if you stick around long enough. But he hasn't said that yet. He hasn't said any of that stuff about, you know, we're looking for black people or I think he said people of color or women mainly. But no, he hasn't said that yet at this point in the interview.
Okay, wait. So let me just understand. How did you first get into restoration? Just start by saying, like, I got into restoration. Bada bada bada.
Okay. I got into restoration in probably about the mid-1990s. My stepdad taught me to solder, and we had a little small studio, music studio. I'm a musician as well, and he's a musician. And it's one of the skills that I sort of picked up along the way, to solder, and just kind of leaning over his shoulder and watching him fix things that were broken in our studio inspired me to try my hand at it, and I've been doing it really solid for probably about the past 10 or 12 years. So.
Cool, perfect. And why do you do what you do? What is it you like about restoration work? What drives you?
One of my passions, what drives me to do restoration work, one of my passions is to save things from the dumpster. I can't stand seeing things go into a dumpster or in a dump needlessly. I hate that. You know, if I see something on the side of the road that's about to be thrown away, you know, I usually have to stop if it's something I know I can fix. There's just a compulsion to it. I'm not a hoarder or anything like that, but at the same time, I hate to see good things just go to waste or go to the dump. I think there's a lot of excess in our society, and just whatever I can do to try to prevent, you know, that from happening in my little corner of the world, that's sort of part of what inspires me to do this.
Okay, great. That's really interesting. What do you love most about your restoration work, and what do you find most challenging?
Probably the thing I love most about doing restoration work is seeing the happiness in a client after it's all done and they get it and they're able to play their guitar again that it had never played that good even from the factory. You know, and just have them say, you know, this thing has never been this good ever since I've had it. So that to me, that's just exceptionally satisfying. What was your other question?
Just the opposite. Like, what's most challenging? What's like something that when it comes up you're like, ugh.
Okay, the most challenging thing probably is having to tell someone that the thing that they love, you know, that they want to see restored is either not restorable or is not economically feasible to be restored. That it would cost way more for me to put the time and labor into this than you would ever get in some kind of market. Now, sometimes it doesn't matter because, you know, it's something that they love anyway, or that was passed down through their family, so they have other reasons for restoring it, so that's fine. But, you know, just to have to tell somebody this thing that was your first guitar, or you know, whatever it is, this hi-fi stereo system that was your grandfather's, is not really economically feasible, at least not right now, because it's not collectible enough to be restored. You know, that's the hardest part, is to see the disappointment.
Alan says, Alan Aviation, is Secret Restoration slated for BET Network? No, man, it's going on the History Channel. So yeah, that's, I guess, even more weird. But I thought some of my answers there were okay. I mean, I cringed a little bit when he asked me to kind of repeat that and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, don't ask me to say the same thing again. You know what I mean? You always kind of get that, I don't know, you get a twinge of self-consciousness when you have to do that. But I've been so used to that, like, because sometimes, very rarely in my videos, I will make a script. It's kind of rare that I make any kind of scripts, but sometimes for voiceover, I will do it. So, you know, I have gotten some practice at doing that, thank goodness. But yeah, funny stuff. I'm definitely cringing at some of this, though. It's watching myself do this is weird.
Interesting. And it's also interesting you mentioned the stereo system. So my next question is, like, what kinds of items do you specialize in, and what else that are related are you capable of restoring? And to the best of your ability, like, if you could just give me, like, the things that I specialize in are bada bing, bada boom, bada boom.
Okay.
But my skill sets also lend themselves to yada, yada, yada.
Okay. The things that I specialize in restoring are anything guitar related, the guitars themselves, amplifiers, but also because I have those sorts of skills, they lend themselves to restoring other things as well. Hi-fi stereo systems from the 1930s up through the 1960s or 70s, I can fix things like that. Little clock radios, radios themselves from the same kind of time period. Basically, if it's vintage and it was electronic, I can usually have a pretty good idea of what's wrong with it and have a good, you know, prospect of fixing it. As far as guitars and stuff go, you know, there's a lot of woodworking in that, so those kinds of skills would translate well into some things. You know, if somebody brought in, say, I don't know, a chessboard or something that they needed restored, and there was a block of wood that needed to come out, I know how to route that out and to replace a block of wood, because there's inlay work that also transfers, you know, from the guitar aspect. So, you know, a lot of those skills are transferable.
And I'm just curious, other than guitars, can you restore other stringed instruments? Like if someone brought in a violin or a cello or stuff like that?
Sure. Actually, The question is, can I restore other stringed instruments? Yes. I actually play cello as well, sort of. I'm not great, but I took some lessons. And I do have a cello, and, you know, I can work on things like violins and cellos and violas and anything in the stringed instrument family. Some of the other instrument families as well, but not brass. The brass is about the only thing that I have not touched, and I usually would refer someone to someone else for brass.
Yeah, Star Ridden says, if only you were trans, Brad. Well, how do you know I'm not?
Okay, great. That's really interesting. Can you give me like an example of like your best experience ever, and conversely like your worst experience ever?
Oh gosh, best experience ever. Probably the best experience I've ever had was I worked on an amplifier for a world-renowned guitar player named Johnny Highland. He is a magnificent, probably one of the 2 or 3 best guitar players on the planet right now, and I restored an amplifier for him, or I say restored, I repaired it, and I was able to hand deliver it to him and sit in the room with him while he played and like pick up some licks and, you know, stuff like that. So it was kind of a double joy for me. So I got to see the smile on his face, but he returned the smile by playing like he does for me. So that was probably my biggest thrill. As far as my biggest disappointment, there's this company called Mesa Boogie who make these amplifiers out of California, and they make really good amplifiers, and they sound great, used on a lot of rock and roll records and things, and a lot of people swear by them and love them. But for a repair person, they're a bit of a nightmare, and I had this one once that was just not, you know, I made 4 different videos because I'm a YouTuber. I made 4 different videos about the same amp, and come to find out the PC...
Bachwinkle says, best experience ever, cussing out the school board member in the parking lot. Oh, that's funny. He wasn't a school board member. He was the superintendent, and I didn't really cuss him out, I wouldn't say. I mean, I probably said some cuss words, but that's funny, though.
Board on which all of the components are laid out had become conductive, so there was no way to fix this thing. After 4 videos, I finally figured this out, that, man, this thing is just not repairable because the board is conductive. And sometimes that happens, and it's just like, you have to say, mea culpa, hey, this is one of those failures, but we've learned something from it, you know?
I still have it, CM. I still have that amp. What's left of it?
So I want to try to understand your skill set a bit more. If you had to choose 10 items that you could restore for this series, can you give me a list of items that you could see if they came in, like somebody told this or that, or and if you could just start by saying like I could restore anything from blah 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 blah.
Okay. I could restore probably anything from guitars, obviously, acoustic electric guitars, any amplifiers, hi-fi stereo systems, clock radios, just regular radios, practically anything with electronics, like I said, from about the 1930s through the 1970s, would have had, you know, tube technology. So I have a passion for anything with tubes in it. If it has tubes in it, immediately I light up. So I'm that guy. I'm the tube guy, I suppose. Is that enough things? I mean, I don't...
See, I think this might have also been part of my problem. Like, if I didn't have the other issue of like, you know, okay, they're going to vet me and figure out that this is the same guy, that he's got like a case upcoming that we can't really invite him to this because who knows what the hell. If that wasn't happening, this would have been my major flaw right here, that I didn't really list enough different things that I could work on or do. You know, and I thought about some things after the fact. I was like, fuck, you know, what? But who's going to bring in, washing machines, dryers, and weed whackers. But who's going to bring in like a family heirloom weed whacker? You know what I mean? But I could have said small engines, you know, I could have said that. And that might have gotten me in a little bit more maybe, but yeah, that's a point, you know. It's like, what else am I going to say? Like, yeah, I could work on a washing machine. It's like somebody's going to bring me their family heirloom washing machine. It was my mama's favorite.
No, there are transferable skills that would transfer onto other items too. So I mean, like the guitar woodworking and stuff like that. If you were to bring in something like, I don't know, I've fixed actually furniture in my own house before. My neighbor gave me several pieces of furniture he was going to throw out because I helped him clean up some stuff around his yard, and he handed me these chairs in a pile, and it was basically just firewood. He was going to throw it to the curb, and I was like, I can fix those. So I brought them in. I've got several chairs in my house that I sit on every day now because he gave me this broken pile of chairs that now I love.
Okay, no, that was great. That was perfect. I just want to try to get an idea of the volume of your work. So, like, on an average, can you give me an idea of how long it takes to do different instruments or electrical fixes? How many items do you think approximately you might be able to restore in a week or a month?
Usually with electronics, as long as the parts are all on hand and I don't have to wait for parts to come in, that's usually the longest part of an electronics restoration, when you figure out exactly which parts you have to order. But
my grandpappy used this leaf blower every weekend. This was his favorite leaf blower. He wore this to church. We just want it restored.
If you have a really good, well-stocked repair shop, you don't have to wait for parts to come in. I try to stock everything that I usually need for all restorations here for guitar amplifiers, and I do a pretty good job of stocking where I don't have to have a customer wait. Usually a customer won't have to wait all that long once I get started on something. A couple days, 4 days maybe at the most for something like an amplifier. A guitar, maybe about as long, if not less. The thing that takes the most time for me is editing, because I'm a YouTuber. I have a YouTube channel with 125,000 subscribers that I've built up, and editing is the longest thing that I have to do. So it's kind of hard to say because there's so much editing involved between projects. But just the restoration itself, 2-3 days maybe per thing.
So, okay, that's interesting. We didn't talk about this, but tell me a little bit about your YouTube channel, how it got started, what kind of following you have, and all of that.
I have a YouTube channel. It's called The Guitologist, and I have about 750 videos or so on there at present. I started doing this really about 2015 or so, maybe 2014. I used to trade a lot in guitars and amplifiers, and I needed a venue to show off the things that I had for sale at first. And so I started using it for that, like for demonstration purposes. But then it kind of evolved, and I started showing myself repairing some of the things that I was trading in. And now it's evolved to the point where that's all I do is the YouTube thing, because it actually...
This is giving me an idea. We should do a spin-off show, like Secret Restoration, but just make it into a complete farce. It's like, these were Mamaw's favorite porno tapes, and now every one of them's been pulled out. We just got to restore them so we can figure out what she looked like when she was younger.
Has grown enough to pay for itself, luckily. So yeah, I've been blessed in that regard. So it's really grown leaps and bounds, way more than I ever expected it to. It's funny how life does that to you sometimes. You start out doing one thing.
Yeah, he didn't watch the channel. That explains everything, doesn't it?
So tell me again, just if you could, like, just that you have a YouTube channel, the name of the channel.
Yeah, like I said, he could have saved himself a lot of time with just some simple vetting, right?
Channel and how many followers you have.
Sure. I have a YouTube channel. It's called The Guitologist, with about 750 videos to date, and I have 125,000 subscribers on that channel.
That's amazing. That's so cool that you turn this is your passion into a profitable business.
A complete fluke. Just a
Yeah, my pappy was he was probably one of the most prolific serial killers in the Southwest, and this was his favorite chainsaw.
Complete fluke, really.
Maybe not. Could be the Lord's work. Okay, so what you do is, in terms of guitars, is fairly niche for me, anyway,
Sure.
in all the different restorers I spoke to. And I'm just curious, is there anything that you need to bring in an assistant or a right-hand person?
Janice, that's a good question. I don't know if there would have been another step after this. There may have been. This may have been like the pre-audition or something, and after this, maybe there would have been another level of vetting or whatever, or weeding out the people. I don't know, but I got the impression that he is making a video of me at this moment, but that you're seeing it, and his team is going to edit it and then present it to like a boardroom full of executives, like the suits, who will sit there with their notes pads and, oh, what about this guy? And can you go back to that guy? And what was his deal? And he said he could do this and this and what? And they would just bandy about these ideas and say, we think we want this one and this one. So they would give them like a whole bunch of people, me just being one of them. So I don't know. There may have been another level after this, but I kind of doubt it, because it seemed like the time frame was only like a couple of months from this point is when they were going to start production. It was like 8 or 10 weeks after this, they were going to start production. So I don't know.
For, like, that's outside of your milieu, like you're working on a piece.
Milieu.
Some.
Sir, what does milieu mean? And while you're explaining that, can you also explain what gravitas means?
I don't know, chrome plating, or I don't know, I'm just making that up. But is there anything that you outsource?
Yes, the one thing I outsource most consistently is speaker reconing. I have a guy in northern Indiana who does the speaker reconing for me if that's ever necessary. With some amplifiers, and the reason you don't want to just dive into, you don't want to just get an electronic.
John says Secret Destruction, a show where you destroy mock-ups of people's heirlooms. And then as they're freaking out, be like, ha ha ha, here's the real one. Oh, fuck. Oh, now I would watch the shit out of some of that.
Person to start doing guitar amps is because there are certain things that collectors look for when they're buying and selling guitar amps that they really don't do or look for in any other facet of electronics. And if you have just somebody who's not really versed in that niche fix a guitar amp, they could actually devalue the amp, thinking that they're fixing it, but they could devalue it in a way. Like, for instance, if I were to bring you a really ragged out, just beat up, dirty looking amplifier and say, here, fix this for me, and somebody went to town and just completely recovered it, you would actually be devaluing the amplifier, sadly, because a lot of players in that niche, they look for that. They look for that kind of ragged out thing as far as the appearance. So you don't want to go too far with it. There's a balancing act, and you have to know where that balance is between restoration and destruction of history, so.
Pimp my credits.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. That was really interesting.
I gotta lose this shirt. That made me hot laughing like that.
Is, if you can just give us a ballpark idea of what your process is. So, and forget about the editing or any of the YouTube stuff, but just in terms of like restoring something comes in, what do you do? Like, what are your like protocols? Like, what are the steps? Like, I evaluate it, I look at this, I plug it in, and then I get back to the person.
Sure. Well, let's say I'm restoring a guitar amp.
That would be my luck. That would be my luck. I would get on the show, and then everybody who came in, even if it was an old lady with a walker, it would be like, well, I just brought my husband's favorite Mesa Boogie amplifier. This was my late husband's favorite Mesa. It would just be Mesa after Mesa. Oh, that's fucking rich. That's funny as shit.
Usually what will happen is I'll put it up on the bench. I will get it plugged into some test equipment. I have a variac and also an isolation transformer on my bench that isolates. So if there are any shorts or anything in the amplifier, the minute I fire it up, I can tell that that's going to be a problem and shut it right back down without harming the amp or harming anything in my house or the bench. So you have to have a few things there ready to go to sort of diagnose or triage the amp. But once all of that's done and I have a good idea, okay, I can fire this up. It's not going to burn the house down.
He used to practice his tapping licks on the back. I remember back when it was in the late 40s. He was way ahead of that Edward guy. He was doing all that tapping.
I'll start dialing it up on a variac and see if I hear any hum or noise at the output, and then I just start to troubleshoot from there. So I might put an input signal into the front end of the amp, and then the signal will come through the amplifier, hopefully all the way out to the speaker. But if not, then I have to see where's the signal dropping. Why am I not getting signal to the speaker?
Why am I talking to this guy about this?
So you have to basically go through step by step and trace out where exactly in the circuit you're losing signal. So that's with an amplifier. If it was a guitar, I would probably plug it into my amp, start jamming around on it, see, oh, okay, well that's a high fret. These frets are really bad. They're low. It needs a refret. So I would make a mental note of that. So I've got to refret it. Are there any cracks in the guitar or other things that need to be taken care of while I have it? Obviously changing strings, re-intonating the instrument before you hand it back to somebody. I like to hand something back to someone that I would like to have handed to me.
Totally. Hambone Jones says, in all seriousness, if they went with you for the show, there would have absolutely been at least one Mesa Boogie. I 100% guarantee it. They would have found somebody with one just so they could do that dun 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 moment, and then they could show this clip of me saying I hate Mesa Boogies. Don't give me a Mesa Boogie. Oh, totally.
And so I want to see them go, wow, this thing has never been this good in my entire life, or this wasn't even this good when I got it new. So I pride myself on being able to do that, and I think that's how I've made a name for myself.
Awesome, that was great, and it's pretty much
that, and also the masturbating in public also has a lot to do with the name that I've made for myself, but that's another story for another time.
the same relative procedure with, like, whether it's a guitar or an amp or an old stereo. It's like checking to see where those issues are and addressing them.
Correct. An old stereo, a hi-fi system would follow sort of the same sort of procedure. If it's electronics related, a lot of the same procedures will apply. You'll have a variac, or you'll have an isolation transformer, and you'll have a current limiter, and these sorts of things that you want to try to bring it up first very slowly. Make sure you're not going to burn up the item or burn down the house or whatever. So, that's the kind of number one thing that you always start with, is just bringing it up slowly. How does it work now? If it works a little bit, how can I make it work perfectly? 9 times out of 10, old electronics, you have to replace all of the capacitors in them, because capacitors, they're sort of like batteries. If you leave them in something too long, they can physically leak, but they can also leak direct current or DC, which can cause all kinds of problems in the circuit. So, I don't expect anybody watching this to know any of this, but...
I should have given them the contact information for restoration and metal. It's like, well, he's Asian. Oh. Holy shit. Oh, man. I haven't laughed this hard in a while. He does great work. Oh. fix everything from a sewing machine. I've seen him fix tape decks. I've seen him. This guy's so good. He could tear them apart and put them all back together again.
That's the number one thing that you will do over and over and over again is replace capacitors in old equipment.
Okay, that's really interesting. So if I were to ask your closest friends and family members, what's Brad really like? How would people describe you?
Look, you can see me smirking even there. It's like, this dude's an asshole, man. Brad, I love him, but that would be the first words out of their fucking mouth. I love Brad. I do, but...
So if you can just start with things people would say, or I'm known as, or blah, 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 however you want to put it.
I don't know. I think they would see me somewhat as maybe a little bit iconoclastic. You know, I have my set.
Why did I say that? Why did I use the word iconoclastic? What's funny is I think I say it again. He asked me to restate it. And I'm like, oh, you want me to restate the whole thing? So I have to remember kind of what I say, and I still use the fucking word iconoclastic. I forgot about that too. At least I didn't use milieu. Oh, that's so fucking dumb.
Ways of doing things. You know, I think things should. I'm logical.
Yeah, bless his heart.
I think things should follow a logical flow, but I'm also artistic. You know, like I said, I've played guitar for 30 years. I've been a songwriter, and so I love art. I love artistic things. I love antiques. Again, I love fishing things out of dumpsters that should not be in the dumpster. You know, and making them work properly. And then just saying, oh, okay, you know where that came from? That came from a dumpster. And then looking at somebody's face, that to me is pretty cool. But, you know, I think they would say probably, I'm just somebody who sticks to my guns. If I think something is appropriate or right, you know, I usually stick to my guns unless somebody proves me otherwise. You know,
Yeah, for the record, I don't think any of my family even knows what iconoclastic means. None of them would say that. Oh shit! I have no idea why I said that.
and I'm open to that.
Okay, that was all really good. I just need it one more time.
It's all really good, but can you say it completely different?
Say I am, or I think, you know, my friend, my reputation, or I'm the kind of guy, but some way that's in a full sentence, or people would describe me as.
I think people would. Let's start over. I think my friends and family would probably say I'm a bit iconoclastic in a lot of ways. I have my set ways of wanting to see things done. I'm very logical, but also I'm very artistic. I've been playing for 30 years music, so you know there's a bit of a dichotomy there. So you might get mixed results if you were to ask different people about me.
God, I used iconoclastic and dichotomy. They're like, this dude is not going on TV. It's like people, they just won't be. Nobody's gonna watch this guy.
All right, that was great. I'm pretty much almost done. Just a couple more. So I'm curious, like, what drives you? Where do you draw your inspiration from to continue this work? And are there any elements of it that where you find you get bored?
Plastico Flamingo says, start a show about you applying for reality TV shows. That's actually, and then just react to it. Oh, this could be a whole new vein of content for me. Brad the iconoclastiologist. You guys are fucking killing me tonight, man. I'm gonna have to stop. Oh man, my temperature, I could feel myself getting hot. Oh.
What drives me is the thrill of discovery. You know, every time I do something restoration-wise, I always learn something. You know, there's never a dull moment when you're doing restorations or repairs. You might think that you know everything, and then invariably something will come along tell you that you don't. So, I mean, but that's the part that I really like. I like that. I like saving things from obsolescence. You know, something that somebody would have thrown away or disregarded. I like to give it a new life. So that's part of what drives me. And, you know, there are things too where it gets a little bit boring. Like I said, you can replace capacitors in an amplifier 1,000 times, and that part can get relatively boring. So
it's just, it's my family would probably say that he's a walking thesaurus. Oh shit. Or he could be an ambling thesaurus, or a perambulating thesaurus.
you were muted, Manny. Sorry.
I know, sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
just realized it. Okay, cool. That's all really good. You have covered basically everything. But I always give people the opportunity, only if there's something else you want to add. If there's something we didn't touch on about your restoration work or about who you are as an individual that you think is, you know, important for us to know, like, oh, aside from my restoration work and my music, I also have, you know, the largest collection of antique, I don't know, anything. Antique paperweights. I'm really into paperweights, or I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But if there's anything else you'd like to add about yourself or restoration, why you love it, feel free, or not. I just let people have that opportunity.
Well, I think the only other thing that I would want to add is, you know, I care a lot about people. I think that part of what this show would be about is the handing an object back to the person at the end and seeing that emotional reaction. To me, that's like that's the payoff for the whole thing.
That's the money
it's
shot.
Like just getting that
That's
out of
the money
person.
shot, man.
And, you know,
I should have said that. It's like an industry term, right? It's like, that's the money shot. Then he would know that, hey, we're on the level, dude. He knows what money shot is.
strive to do whatever I could to get that reaction out of a person. That would be positive and be something that. I'm sorry for that. My coffee machine just went off. Do you want me to start over? Sorry.
Or would you like an espresso?
Sure.
Sorry. My espresso machine. I forgot I had it on over there. It's cleaning itself.
I know, I have friends who have.
We know exactly what that's like now, don't we? Every time. That espresso machine just goes off all the time.
Something like that.
It's-
Go ahead, whenever you're ready.
Does it at random times. Sorry about that.
See, that was my attempt to connect with him in some kind of weird urban way, right? I thought it was pretty subtle, but...
Yeah, if I had anything to add, I would just say that, you know, I do care a lot about people. I just came back from doing some work down in western Kentucky where they just got devastated by that tornado, and just to see all of the destruction and devastation down there, to me that's kind of, it's really heartbreaking. And to see all the things lying around that I know I have the skills to fix. You know, I would see a kitchen table lying next to what used to be somebody's house, and just knowing I could fix that. I could take that home right now and I could fix that and hand it back to a person, and then knowing I can't do that for everything and everybody that I want to help more people than I'm ever going to be able to help. But I think this show and the point of it is to be able to hand something back to a specific person and see that emotional reaction at the end, and knowing that you did everything you could to make that person smile or cry or whatever their emotional reaction is. I think that's the part that makes all of this worth it.
What lost me the gig is what, you know, at the very beginning when he's like, hey, oh yeah, how are you doing? And I should have been, I'm super, thanks for asking.
Beautiful. That was great. I'm so glad you mentioned that. I forgot that you were helping the people through the hurricane.
Yeah, actually, I had to put it off because I knew I was going to be doing this today, and I needed to be home with my Wi-Fi. So, but I'm going back down there tomorrow. Me and a friend are going to go in with chainsaws and just see if anybody needs help or whatever. So it's unbelievable, Manny. It's unbelievable, man. It looks like a bomb went off there. You're muted.
You guys are killing me with these comments, man.
Sorry, I keep forgetting I'm muted.
That's okay.
I'm actually hurting now.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. I mean, I'm in New York. We don't really get hurricanes, but we have had
We don't get them in Kentucky either, dude. I said tornado.
weather disasters, sort of.
Did you get hit by Sandy?
Oh,
Yeah, but it wasn't a hurricane. It was flood.
we're pretty landlocked down here in
Yeah, it was
Kentucky.
flood. We have massive. We have these things called nor'easters.
Yeah.
Other than the occasional tsunami, we don't experience too much in the way of severe weather events.
Anyway, it's nothing compared to that. That hurricane was like the hurricane of hurricanes. It's like something great, like 200-mile hurricane. The hurricane that touches down for 200 miles. From what I heard, it's pretty unheard of.
Right.
It just, I really feel for those people. It's just so devastating. All right, but back to what we're doing. So
Sure.
now that you're all warmed up, I just want to get one more intro for safety's sake.
Oh, now that you're all warmed up, now we can start the real interview. At this point, I was terrified, I think, that's what he was going to say. It's like, okay, we'll throw all of that out, and let's just start over now that you're warmed up. Oh.
Just, again, tell me your name, your location, and a little bit about the kinds of restoration you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prince Westerberg says, he says, yeah, no matter what they bring in, it's going to go back out as a guitar amp. It's like, this was my aunt's favorite toaster. Well, now it's a guitar amp. Now she can rock through it.
My name is Brad Lindsay. Let me start one more time. I'm sorry. 'Cause, I thought you were wanting me to stop there, and I was like, what? Okay. My name is Brad Lindsay. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and I do restorations on basically anything guitar-related or vintage electronics related, specifically. And I could probably also branch out into some other things, too.
And just so we have it, just tell me a little bit about your specialties and where your skill sets lie. So, like, my specialties are guitars and guitar amps.
Yeah.
But within the electronic world, I can do anything.
Yeah, Danique Baker says, now can you please just tell us what we want to hear? I kind of got the impression it's like, okay, you said a bunch of shit earlier, but I need you to make it more concise and like, soundbitey, for the people I'm going to show it to. So that's what I'm trying to do here is like soundbite it down for the dude. And, when I stop, I have a tendency to repeat myself. You see, I just said it twice. I have a tendency to repeat myself. I do that. And also I will start a new sentence right at the end of the last sentence, and then I'll pause. And that I notice that a lot in my own editing. It's like, okay, I don't really need to say the same thing again, or I don't need this whole sentence or this paragraph here for people to get the gist. And already this video is like 2 hours long, and I have to whittle it down, so I'll edit out a lot of stuff out, the phrases and things, just to whittle things down. But it's hard because of my pattern of speech. I will say something at the end of a phrase, and then I'll pause, and then I'll pick it up, so it makes it really almost impossible to edit.
Kind of rewiring, blah, 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 whatever. Like, could you do a lamp?
Sure. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's good, too. That's
Autistic, Brad. Yeah, it is kind of
Okay.
autistic.
Yeah, so my specialties are mainly guitar-related things and electronics-related things that are vintage. But that would also extend into things like lamps or, just household item toasters. If somebody was really emotionally attached to a toaster, I suppose I could do something like that. You name it, if it's an appliance in the American household from about the 1930s to the 1970s, I could probably stand a good chance of fixing it.
Oh, man.
That was great. Thanks so much. That was really good. I'm going to stop recording.
Recording stopped.
That was awesome. You would be great. You're really obviously very comfortable with yourself, and you're good on camera, and it's fun listening to you. So on our end, we now basically take your whatever half-hour-ish this tape and we cut it down to like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we have to overlay images on it. And we want to try to get from you as many images as you can send us of items you've restored. So if you have like pictures of any of the stuff that you've done, or images of yourself in the shop restoring stuff, anything that would help illustrate your story as you're talking about it.
Okay.
Obviously, like guitars and amps, if you have, but if you have other objects that you restored or pulled out of the dumpster,
Goose Mutter says, "Why did recording stopped also have a lisp?" I didn't notice that. That would be funny if it did.
That would show the array.
I didn't notice.
Skill sets you have and how they could be applied to different objects.
Sure.
I can restore any and all leg lamps.
Did you want to ask something?
No, not necessarily. I have so many videos. I could just go in and take screenshots. Probably. Do you have a specific? Do you have a limit on the quality of the images? Or I mean, I'm not going to send you potato camera stuff. But
what a retarded question to ask.
I mean, we don't have a limit. They should be as high quality as possible. They don't have to be really large.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Okay.
They should just be clear. The way it works is the editor will take it, and while you're talking about the different kinds of stuff that you do, it's called coverage. So it'll just be placed over the voiceover or the interview.
Manny, I know what it's called. You don't have to educate me, son. I've been doing this for a long time.
So it's not just you sitting in a chair talking. We'll see it, and also seeing it and seeing the different kinds of images. Because otherwise, like, if they like, oh, he's the guitar guy, like that's all he does. They're just people immediately they won't think outside of the box.
Sure.
The people that I'm showing this to have to be like, yeah, I have to sell you and be like, he does guitars, and that's his bread and butter, but he can do anything electronic from the 1930s up, and that's why images are helpful.
Sure. Yeah, I can certainly do that. How many were you thinking? Like, I don't know, 15 or so images, or
something like that. Like, if you can send us between 10 and 20 images or more. Some people are like, I have a whole folder of all these.
I've got some real good ones I'll slip in there too, just for you.
I won't do that to you. Unless you want me to.
No, but if you send us between 10 and 20, it should be more than enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow up after this call with an email, and then I'm going to CC Essence. And so when you respond, just reply to both of us with those images.
Sure. Okay. Well, is that it?
That's basically it. And just so you know, we won't know anything until probably early February, but you are welcome to get in touch with me or Essence, but you have my phone number and my email. Feel free to text or call or whatever if you just want to check in and see what's going on.
Sure. Well, listen, best of luck to you, and I wanted to say this too, Manny, if you don't use me for any reason and you want another recommendation for somebody who does what I do, I could probably give you several really good restorers who can do what I do and then some. So
I mean, who does that? Who is that cool? It's like, all right, man, if you're not going to pick me, though, I got to know some people. I'd like you to pick one of my friends, right? Because I'm a loyal motherfucker. That's why.
It's a community. It's a tight community here. So the way I see this is, if I don't get this gig, I would like for one of the other people in my community to have opportunity to get this gig too. So, if for whatever reason,
I don't know, like if you run across some kind of video where I'm like, maybe threatening a school superintendent or something, or being accused of it, I don't know, maybe, just maybe.
I'm saying if I'm not working out, I know some really great restorers. So
Yeah, no, I mean, if you know people, especially if they have like a really good personality, and if they happen to be female or people of color, just because we're trying to have as much diversity as possible,
sure.
send me anyone that you like that you think would be interested in talking to me. I'll take them right now. Like,
And I did. I did. I actually sent him some people that you probably know, and you could guess their names. I'm not gonna list them, just because I'm not trying to say, okay, this person is this or this person is this. But you can guess what people I might send, right? Like who would be trans or woman or or POC, whatever. Like from the restoration or guitar amp community. I did do that. So for what it's worth, some of you guys who say I'm just a dick, that was me kind of trying to not be a dick for a change.
we only have so much time to do these calls because it takes time to do the editing process, and it's not like it doesn't happen. It's like the editor comes up with a version, and then we get notes from a million different places, so it takes a while to finalize all of that. But if you know people who you think would be good for us to talk to, I would love to talk to them. And it doesn't matter, like, listen, the whole restoration world is a pretty white male world, and so I'm happy to talk. I talked to tons of white
Allegedly.
guys. Because it's a white male world, and this is a television series, it's important that we represent people who aren't.
There is a fellow, I don't know if you've spoken to him yet. There's a fellow, I think he's Indian, and he does tool rescue. Have you spoken to him?
No, I would talk to him. It's a little tough if all they do are tools.
Yeah.
Because we're not, again, like, it just can't be all tools.
I understand. I think he could do anything. This is one of the dudes who he will take something that's completely rusted, take it, explode it apart into components.
I can't believe, I don't know what got into my head here that I'm actually indulging this shit. The more I think about it, the more pissed off at myself I actually am. I probably should have just told him what for at this point and said, hey, I think what you just said is probably illegal and I'm a bit offended by it. But instead, I'm actually trying to help the dude. It's like, sort of get out of it in a way. I don't know what it is about me who would do that I would do that in this scenario, but I did, for better or worse.
And then, basically do all the sandblasting and all that stuff, down to the microscopic. See, he's really good, but that's the one I can think of who's not, like you said, a white male who you might be interested in.
I mean, some of the white guys, I don't want to say like we're not
doing his job for him, and
I'm not interested in talking to white guys. Like, I've spoken to some amazingly talented and very compelling white guys. It's fine. Like, it's just totally we're gonna have white guys on the show too. We just need to find like the most compelling personalities with the strongest skill sets who will work well as a collaborative group, and their personalities also have to work well. There's got to be like chemistry, and there's just a lot of different components that go into it. So anyone that you have that you think is skilled in restoration, I'll take. Like, forget about black, white, whatever. It doesn't matter. Male, female. It's harder to find women and people of color, but we have plenty. So anyone that
it seemed like the restorations for women were more in like ceramics. At least the English show, they had ceramics and like women who did sewing and things like that. So I think they have definitely a niche where you could find people.
Women are generally more on what's called the decorative arts side of things.
Right.
So women can basically do more of the outside, the exteriors of objects, where men are more doing the machinery or the insides.
Right.
It's a big generalization, but...
No, I think that's right. Right.
But for the network, if they could find like a black woman who happens to be a machinery person, that would be like a total coup, because it's
rare.
It's showing something that you don't normally see, and they're just always mindful of representation. That's all.
I mean, I get it. I do get it. I see it from their side. Don't get me wrong, I do. I see it. But that's patently illegal. You can't do that, man. You at least can't say it out fucking loud in the interview, right? It's like, I don't know, man. This is a weird gray area because I don't think they ever dreamed up a scenario where a white dude would be sitting there across from the interviewer or the, whatever, trying to help him do his job and find. It's like, yeah, I'll refer you some POCs and women, that you might be able to hire instead of me, right? What a weird. That's a weird scenario, but I still think it's probably illegal, and it's definitely just, I mean, not something you really want to say out loud. I kind of wish he hadn't done that, because honestly, I did like Manny. As much as I've kind of, made a little bit of fun with the lisps and stuff in this video, I did like the guy up to this point, and even after this, I was kind of like, I thought that was messed up, but I still kind of liked the guy. I didn't have anything against him, and it did feel like he was going to give me a fair shake and all that, and they probably did. To be fair to them, they probably did give me a fair shake, and it had nothing to do with me being a white male. Is why I'm not on that show right now, and I'm fully aware of that it had nothing to do with that. Most likely, but at the same time, there's a possibility that it was, and he did say it out loud. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have a wide audience that you want to bring in. I think the wider you can make the cast, you could, you know this as well as I do. You bring in more people. So.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but they have to really be charismatic. That's the main thing. If they have a great personality, that is huge.
Right.
It's fun to watch. But
I might have a couple of people in mind for you. If you don't mind, I'll send them your email and maybe put them in touch. Is that okay?
however you're most comfortable doing it. The time is a little bit of the essence. I'm only working tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday of next week, and I'd love to try to get them at least on a preliminary phone call before New Year's. So
I will do that. I'll do that immediately if I can. Then.
Okay. Yeah. If you want to reach out to them, and if they're cool, send me their information, and I'll follow up, or however you're most comfortable doing it.
Okay. All right, Manny.
All right. Thank you so much for your time, and have a really good holiday.
Yeah, you too, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, bye.
It's Christmas to you, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't think this is happening.
Yeah, and it didn't happen. So yeah, that was, guys, wow. My audition for the television show Secret Restoration, which is now airing on the History Channel, which was produced by Jimmy Kimmel's production company, Spoke. And the gentleman that I spoke to there from Spoke, his name was Manny. And I did actually follow up and send him some names of some people. But, you know, I don't know if they followed up with them or got back with them. They're not on the show from the cast that I saw. And the guy that they hired, who ultimately, it looks like he's doing kind of the guitar stuff / whatever, you know, the stuff I would have done, radios and all that. He ended up being a white dude, which, surprise, surprise, right? But it also wouldn't have surprised me if they just, you know, had looked around until they found a female. I think if they looked around enough, they could have definitely found somebody like Fazio. I don't know if I was already familiar with Fazio Electric, or I might have even sent him her link to her channel. I can't remember. But that did cross my mind, I believe. So yes, I think I did actually send him her a link to her channel, if I remember correctly. So, you know, I tried. To those of you in the AMP community, I did try, so... But I just thought it was messed up. Just messed up, that part of it. And it kind of made, you know, it made me not want to share this video because I didn't want it to just be another angry video. And for a long time there, I was trying to get away from like any discussions of politics or any of that crap because I know you guys don't like that. But at this point, whatever. But the show's on History Channel if you want to check it out, and I'm not on it. Spoiler alert. I think they made the biggest mistake of their professional careers by not hiring me, because I would have made that fucking show, and I would have cussed every single show, and I would have been the life of the party, and I would have fucked all the women, and I would have thrown wrenches across the shop, and I would have hit old ladies in the head with them, and I would have turned all of their toasters into amplifiers, and I just would have been a general badass, and they don't know what they're missing. So I'm going to have to do my own show, and I'm going to call it Fake Secret Restoration, where I bring people in. I show them a duplicate that has been completely destroyed, get their response, and then say, oh, psych, this is the real one. So whoever said that, that's Comic Gold. I love you guys. Have an awesome Friday. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. And for now, we'll see y'all later.